Hey there, movie fans. Welcome back to Movie Review Mom. Today I've got a real tear jerker for you. The movie I'm reviewing is called A Journal for Jordan. This dramatic movie based on a true story opens next week on Christmas Day, December 25th. 2021. The movie is rated PG-13 and it's a little bit of a long film at 2 hours and 11 minutes long. I'm going to give you an overview in a nutshell where I'll point out things I liked, didn't like. I'll share some movie lines, themes worth talking about, and even a couple of movie recommendations for other films that are sort of similar that you might also like. And tips for parents. So, in a nutshell, directed by two-time Oscar winner Denzel Washington, this heartfelt film is a dramatic romance. Although it crosses the line on what is appropriate for a rating of PG-13. I'll talk more about that in my section about tips for parents. The movie is based on First Sergeant Charles Monroe King, who, before he's killed in action in Baghdad, authors a journal for his son intended to tell him how to live a decent life despite growing up without a father. To pay respect to our current military, Denzel Washington visited Fort Irwin in California in September 2020 to do a meet and greet with the soldiers and their families. One of the writers is Dana Kennedy, who the story is about, and who also wrote an article and a book based on her real life experiences. Virgil Williams wrote the screenplay. So here are some of the things that I really liked about this movie. First of all, I could not be a bigger fan of Michael B. Jordan. He's excellent in everything that he does. The audience that I watched the press screening with was also filled with fans. There's a scene where you see a naked backside of the very buff actor. And so a lady in the audience lifted up her hands in the air and yelled, "Yes," and started clapping her hands, which of course made the entire audience crack up. It is no joke that Michael B. Jordan is incredible eye candy and a very powerful actor. To prepare for his role, he did a little bit of boot camp at Fort Irwin to see what it would actually be like to be Charles and go through his experiences in the military. Shantae Adams is lovely as Michael B. Jordan's romantic interest. The movie really focuses on her part of the story as she was the one left to raise their son as a single mother. Jalen Christian hit the jackpot by landing his very first movie role, directed by Denzel Washington. In the title role of Jordan, Jalen found an instant connection with the character who gets called names because he doesn't quite look black or white and doesn't have a father around. He stated, quote, "I know it's my life's purpose to represent and tell stories that will inspire people to embrace all the sides of who they are while not having to pick just one. The message of this film does just that," end quote. His next movie is with Dwayne Johnson in the DC Comics Black Adam. Some of the filming was done in Washington, D.C. at Arlington Cemetery, but it's not listed under the locations in the credits for whatever reason. Arlington Cemetery is a sobering place that every American should try to visit as an expression of gratitude. All of our fallen soldiers who were dedicated to protecting America's interests. I was intrigued by two scenes in particular that showed Jordan's father's presence coming from the other side of death. I was hoping, I don't want to give you any spoilers, but I was hoping that the story would actually feature more of those moments and take the movie into a deeper dive, but the film didn't really linger there. I couldn't find the name of the baby who plays the very young toddler Jordan, but he was totally adorable and I wanted to see more of him. But we actually also get to see Jordan grow up a little bit. So that's pretty cool. There's some humor peppered throughout the film, which is always welcome. And then, guys, take note of how to be a gentleman. Dana Kennedy noticed that Charles Monroe King was walking on the outside of the sidewalk. whenever they walked together in order to protect her from any oncoming traffic. That's how it's done. So I didn't even know this was a thing until I was a teenager and I was an exchange student in Mexico. And so my exchange sister hooked me up with her boyfriend's best friend so that we could go on a double date. I remember it was dark outside at night in the hot summer, and we were walking on the sidewalk heading to a restaurant or wherever it was we were going to go. And there were cockroaches everywhere. Now, this date of mine was trying to be a gentleman, but I was completely oblivious. And I started jumping around to avoid all of these cockroaches because every time I landed on one, you would hear the crunch of its shell. It was disgusting. And so I was like jumping around going, ew, ew. And this poor guy was trying to be a gentleman and was bouncing around, in and out of the street. And finally, my exchange sister said, Trina, he's trying to be a gentleman. And I was like, what? I mean, I'm embarrassed to say how clueless I was, but forever after, I think of this guy fondly for trying to be a good gentleman. And I've tried to teach my sons the same thing. I have 4 sons, by the way. So other than the 2 leads, all of the coworkers, friends, and family members in the movie look like real everyday people. They were actors, but I appreciated that it wasn't just a big glam fest. The introduction at the very beginning of the movie shows very fast-moving moments of the couple's life, perfectly representing how fast our lives really do fly by. And the older I get, the more I feel that. And finally, I got to take a friend with me to watch the press screening. And she was really taken with the movie. She cried while she tried to point out all of the beautiful moments and messages of the film. And I admit, I got a little teary-eyed myself. Now, with all of that praise, there still were some things that I didn't quite like about the film. First of all, the movie focuses far more time on the relationship between this father and mother and not on the journal itself, which is the title of the movie. Technically, there are 2 journals, one written by Jordan's father and the other by Jordan's mother. The idea of the journal itself is briefly shown at the beginning of the film and then not really developed until the very end of the movie. There is some cliched dialogue, which surprised me. And the story is very slow moving. I wanted it to get to the contents of the journal way sooner than it did. And again, the movie really focuses on this slow moving, developing relationship. Because the story is about a father and a son, I wondered why Denzel Washington didn't insist on casting his real life son, who's a very talented actor, John David Washington, in the role of Charles Monroe King. I kind of searched online looking for answers to why that didn't happen and didn't really find out why. So if you know the reason, comment down below and let me know, because I would have loved to have seen that. Now, let me give you some tips for parents. First of all, I think Denzel Washington has been in so many rated R movies that he's forgotten what a PG-13 movie should look like. There's a lot of sexual content in this movie that I just think is inappropriate for 13-year-old children. For example, you see a man fully naked from the rear. You see a topless woman from the side. You see a couple in bed several times with a lot of skin and some rolling around action and facial expressions of ecstasy and talk of boobies and lots of conversation about sex. The story features an unmarried couple and their relationship that results in an unwed pregnancy. A woman holds a vibrator and there's some discussion about that. A woman leaks breast milk onto her shirt. There's talk and portrayal of marijuana usage. There's a gay man who's one of Dana's co-workers. Use of, now I don't even want to tell you what the words were, but a couple of really offensive words. You can see what I wrote on my written review at Movie Review Mom. There's also some other profanity and TV footage of the towers during 9/11. Some of the themes are love, of course, family, legacy, life and death, single moms, divorce, service to others, and heroes who are both military and single moms. So I always try to write down funny lines and interesting lines to give you a feel for the movie. And I wrote them all down on my moviereviewmom.com website review. So you can see all of them there, but I'll just share a few of them with you right now. First of all, I just laughed because this is a funny line, because this reminded me of lines that my kids said growing up. And I totally forgot about it until I heard it in the movie. And I was like, wow, I forgot that was a thing. Oftentimes my kids would say, guess what? And I'd say, what? And they'd say, chicken butt, like that's supposed to rhyme. Guess what? Chicken butt. Anyway, and so Charles says that a lot. Of course, that was back then in that time period as well, where I guess a lot of kids said that, and he was a grown adult saying it. So anyway, I just thought that was kind of funny. And then some interesting lines are when Dana Kennedy says, men are luxuries, not necessities. And then she and Charles are having a fight, and he is always there for the soldiers that he's in charge of. And she says, you don't love me, you love your men. I'm just better looking. And I just thought, wow, that relationship between leader and soldier, it was illustrated very powerfully. My son is an officer in the Army, and he feels that way about his fellow soldiers, his brothers in arms, and has always been fascinated by that relationship as well, and fiercely is devoted to his men as well. And then in the words written in the journal, Charles says, love is the one thing in this world that's worth fighting for your men, fighting for your country, fighting for your family, your freedom, so many things. And it's that love that compels these soldiers to be willing to sacrifice. And I thought that was illustrated really well. Ultimately, I think that the movie is touching. You're probably going to cry. There are some wonderful messages in it, although I felt like it went too far. And so ultimately, my movie review mom grade is a B. So let me give you some recommendations for a couple of other movies that I think you might also enjoy. The first one is called The Photograph, with some great performances and another story about love and relationships and life and all of that. And then another movie that just is still weighing on my heart is a military documentary called To What Remains. And you can watch my movie review for that one that I just recently did. In fact, on Pearl Harbor Day, December 7th. And I share a touching personal experience that I had with that movie. All right, that's it. I hope you're having a wonderful holiday season. And thank you so much for all of your support. I truly appreciate when you like my reviews and subscribe and tell your friends to come over here and join us. I love that. Have a fantastic day, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye for now.